What is the strangest thing that happened to you that you can't logically explain? As a child visiting my grandma's house, my mom's mum, whenever I left the house I'd wave next door to Ken, who was always sat in the bay window looking out at the sea. They lived right on the coast off the North Sea in Hartlepool, UK. We'd never really talk, but just a little wave before I went to get into the car. One time I'm leaving my gran's house. I'm in front of my mum, who stopped at the door to talk to my gran. So I head down the steps and towards the gate. I turn back and see Ken in the window. Big smile as usual, waving at me. I give him a wave back. He stands up, gives me the thumbs up, and wanders towards the back of the room. My mum comes walking down the steps and asks, "Who are you waving at?" I replied, "Ken." To this day, I can remember my mom's face. She just went white, but didn't say anything to me. It was only a few weeks later when she plucked up the courage to tell me that Ken had died a few days prior to our visit to my gran's. I don't believe in ghosts, but I know I saw him. I can still picture his striped gray sweater with light stripes across it. Him waving and getting up out of his chair. There was no one else in the house, he lived by himself. Brains are weird. I 100% believe you. My cousin's daughter, 4 years old maybe, says she talks to our dead grandpa all the time. One time my cousin caught her singing along to my grandpa's favorite song, giggling and running around the room. She asked her what she was doing and she said, "I'm playing with Tata and he's teaching me a song." She got so spooked because there's no way her daughter could have heard it anywhere, as my cousin doesn't like to listen to it because the song reminds her of him and it makes her sad. It's also an old tango that you have to actively search on the internet to find. There are other things about her kid that are straight up weird and everyone is convinced she's a medium or something. I'm a firefighter and we got a call for an overdose around 3 a.m. to a rough part of our district in the middle of winter. Unfortunately, the patient was long gone and her dealer or whatever found her like that when he dropped some stuff. As we were packing up our stuff, mind you, this is an absolutely trashed mobile home, I hear something down the hall that said lights. I asked my partner if he said anything, as it was just him and I cleaning up. He said no. I walked to the far end of the trailer where I heard it and shine my flashlight. I get a reflection out of the window. They have a small tool shed and it had a flickering light. It piqued my interest, so my partner and I go out there. We hear crying and notice the door is padlocked. We cut it, and this little 6-year-old girl was in there. She said her mom puts her in there when she gets mad at her. She said she got scared when she heard the sirens and didn't know what to do. To this day I have no idea what happened or where the voice came from, but I'll take the win on it. Edit. A couple people wondering about what happened after. My partner and I took her to the children's hospital closest to us and we wrote our report and ate chips and a sandwich we took from the lounge while they called the social worker. She was a really sweet girl. The voice was not a little girl voice. I 100% thought it was my partner since it sounded like a guy. Edit 2. Sorry for using peaked. I was between calls at work pretty early in the morning and grammar is not my defining character of mine. Thanks for reading. Hug your kiddos a little tighter tonight. How horrible for that poor girl. I hope she's in a better family situation now. I once shut my ear in a car door. No idea how. Have tried to recreate it and can't, but my God, that hurt. You deserve something for this. A football helmet to prevent it from happening again. Edit. Wow, this exploded. Thank you everyone. I hit a patch of black ice in the dark going 60 miles per hour down the highway. At the time, I drove a 1-ton cargo van. It hit the guardrail and flipped. Not only did I walk away without a scratch, the car was drivable and I was only 30 minutes late to work. Edit. A word. Do a barrel roll. Cool flip, bro. When I was younger, in elementary school, I used to have the same dream every weekend starting on Saturday, when I would go to sleep, and then waking up in the middle of the night, on Sunday, and throwing up. The dream was always a bunch of numbers. Not even anything happening, just a bunch of random jumbled up numbers all over the place. I never understood why that happened, where the same dream would happen on the same night every week and I would throw up every single time. I always think about it and wonder what it was or if it was just some weird coincidence. Also, I would not have any signs of being sick before or after. Maybe someone else has experienced this? The only thing I can think of is cyclical vomiting syndrome, and it triggering that dream. For context, I used to have cyclical vomiting syndrome when I was younger, and it always happened at 6:30. I would wake up feeling extremely and I could hear my heart in my head. I would then go to the fridge and drink the same juice and go to the bathroom, vomit, fall asleep, wake up, vomit, and then I was all fine. Okay, that sounds a lot like what I was probably experiencing. Except I went straight to the toilet. Haha, the dream thing has never happened since though. The numbers Mason. What do they mean? Both of my lungs collapsed at the same time, almost over 50%, collapsed, and I was walking around like I was perfectly normal. Until I decided to go to the ER for bubble sounds in my chest. None of the doctors could figure out why this had happened to me. They didn't know how I was just up and walking around and laughing at it. Word. Edit 2, to answer questions. 1. I am a 5'7" thin woman. I have heard it is very common in tall and thin men. 2. Yes, it was bilateral pneumothorax, doctor just couldn't figure why it happened. 3. I ended up having 4 more spontaneous pneumothorax within the span of 2 years. I'm still a mystery in that hospital. 4. I was aged 19 to 21 when this was happening. 26 years old now. 5. They did pleurodesis procedure to get it to stop happening, hasn't happened since. This happened to my brother. He said he was getting a cold, but felt fine. His voice sounded really weird though, and it felt like he had like plastic under his skin in his chest, crepitus I guess it's called. Ended up in the hospital for a few days but felt fine the whole time. Doctors have no idea what caused it. When I was in primary school, like year 1 to 2, in the cafeteria there was all these cups filled with milk every lunch. Red, green, blue, but only one yellow cup. Everyone would fight to get the yellow cup like it was the holy grail, and it had been this way for years. One night I had a dream that the cafeteria had gotten more yellow cups in, and lo and behold the next day. Hundreds of yellow cups. When I was in college, a drunk dude fell from a 3rd-floor balcony and got up and walked away like it was nothing. Seriously, one of the weirdest/freakish things I've ever seen in my life. Edit, for those asking, University of Southern California circa 2009. It's getting late, guys. Oh, this is my floor jumps. I'll see you tomorrow. My dad owned a small garden shop, so I'd stay behind the checkout after school till the shop closed. This was until I see a tall man wearing all black, like a trench coat, walking past my dad and smiling at me before going into a staff-only area. I jump up to stop him, even though I was 7. This back area filled with new shipments. I turn the corner but nobody is there. There was nowhere he could have gone. I asked my dad to check the CCTV after closing, but it's only shown me jumping up and running out of frame. Weird stuff, never felt comfortable there again. One time when I was little I had a similar experience. I had fallen asleep on the couch and woke up in the middle of the night. When I got up to go to the kitchen I saw a black silhouette of a woman with a bun and glasses, and she went into the kitchen and I heard all of pans fall. I rush into the kitchen, no one is there and everything is in its place. I know I could have imagined the figure, but I cannot explain the sound of the crashing pans, and no one else heard it, they were all asleep. I have a friend that had an injury to his arm that caused him to have paralysis. He went through therapy and nothing they tried worked. He just had a bum arm. One day he takes his kids to a water park and goes down a slide. He gets jostled around on his way down, and when he gets to the bottom, he is almost full use of his arm. He must have had a pinched nerve that was healed in the miracle slide. Edit, sadly, I forget what the previous comment said. I was stoned last night, so. Water slide, $1. Miracle slide, $20. I swear my 4-year-old can read my mind, or we think on the same wavelength sometimes. I've randomly thought of a specific food, i.e. ice cream, which we rarely have, and he asked me, can we get ice cream? Or I'll be thinking about my mom and he'll ask, can we go to grandma's? My mother is a food psychic and always has been. From when I was really little I would come home on the bus from school and trudge up the hill in the snow, and whatever food item I was daydreaming about would be ready for me when I got to the door. Feel like roast beef tonight, don't worry about it, mom's already on it. Feeling like cinnamon buns, consider them made. It was always something that she would have had to start cooking long before I thought of it. So, I guess maybe that makes me the food psychic? I do the opposite. My husband has lunch catered when he's at work, and I constantly cook exactly what he had for lunch for dinner without talking to him. This happens with me and my son. He's 10 now. And it's been going on for years. I could give hundreds of examples. It's not like I can think of something and then ask him and he can tell me. More like the same wavelength, like you said. I just randomly think something and then he brings it up immediately. Weird. When I was 10, I had a radio and beanbag chair in my room. As I was starting to fall asleep, the radio suddenly changed the channel multiple times before I heard the beanbag chair in my room slowly fold in on itself, making the noise a beanbag chair would make if someone were to sit in it. Not sure what caused this, but certainly freaked me out. Your brain does weird things in that first stage of sleep. It's either that or you're haunted. F na. Lamau. So when I was a kid, I slept with my bedroom door open because my cat liked to cuddle me. Our hallway was just a round hallway, and I could see the bathroom door and my parents' bedroom door. Though it was dark, it was in view. I also slept with my lights only dimmed. One night, I can't sleep for some reason. I for some reason call out for my mom, and I see her standing near my doorway, kind of turned away from me with her hand on her face and her hair draping. I know it's her because she slept in a big purple t-shirt that night, but she's completely still. Static. Mind you, I'm wide freaking awake. I might have been watching TV before this, 3 a.m. Disney Channel, probably. When I call out to her, she doesn't move at all. Blink. She's gone. I start freaking out and calling out to her for real, and that's when I hear their door open and close and my mom rushes to my aid. I think she either slept with me all night or I stayed up all night watching TV to pacify myself. I started sleeping with my door closed out of that, and I don't look too carefully in darkness. This reminds me of the creeper in my mom's old house. We used to live on a semi-main road right off of Main Street in my hometown. The house was over 100 years old. We had a stairwell from the first floor to the second floor that was completely walled in with only an archway/doorway with no door. If you sat in our living room on either of the couches at any time of day, you might just see a dark head pop around the corner of the archway/doorway and stare at you. If you look straight at him, he'll duck back into the stairwell, but you watch him go. He doesn't just disappear or fade away, you can actually see his head duck back into the stairwell. We all saw it, and various friends of ours would report it to us randomly too without us ever mentioning it to them. My mom tried talking to him, but he never responded. Just stared at us from afar. The most anybody ever actually saw of him was part of his chest/shoulder. Well, that's terrifying. It seems like you just got used to it though. Yeah, he never did anything or scared anybody beyond the uncomfortable feeling of being watched. I didn't feel right to try and make him leave or anything. I might have a picture of the archway, hold on. When my daughter was little and she would get upset, something in the kitchen would randomly break. Happened way too many times to be coincidental, and the things that broke did so in inexplicable ways. I clearly remember one instance very early in the morning standing in the kitchen, telling her she couldn't have cake from the night before. She immediately looked angry and I heard a weird plink sound in the cupboard. Opened it to find the plate on the top of the stack was cracked in several places. No signs of this in later years. She's 24 now and I often allude to this and remind her boyfriend not to piss her off, smiley face. Matilda? I used to fence, the sport, not stolen goods. I was at a tournament and had just started a bout against a competitor. You win the bout by being the first to 5 points. I score what I believe to be first point, but the official indicates the match is over and I've won. I stood there confused for a second, but my opponent seems to agree and salutes and approaches for a handshake, so I go along with it. I check the scorecard and it says I've won 5-2. Totally lost probably 4 or 5 minutes of time. Hasn't happened since to the best of my knowledge, but it's been 20 years and I still wonder what happened. I.e. had something similar happen to me. I was cleaning my mom's shop, like I had done hundreds of times, and just as I started to sweep, I looked down to the floor already been swept and everything cleaned. Lost like 15 to 20 minutes, Still don't know what happened. Brains are lazy and sometimes don't bother to record something entirely routine. Happens a lot to people driving, they just go on autopilot and wake back up once they arrive. I've had it happen when I'm tired and I can't remember the last few minutes of driving, but when I need to do something, like overtake someone or take an exit, then it's like my brain woke up and told me it needed me to make a decision. Also a very good sign that you need to stop driving and have a break. My grandpa died, and after about a year or two, my baby brother went looking for him in my grandpa's room. My parents thought I was with him, as he was laughing and babbling, and seemed entertained, which knowing him, would be if someone else was there. But I was in my room. And my parents were downstairs. 30 minutes goes by, parents start looking for him, and find him just there. He's not playing with anything in the room. Just lying there. Now, he still goes into that room. Looking for him. I wonder if he had seen his ghost, or something like that. Edit, correct time between death of grandpa and strange event. Had a dream that I got a phone call saying my brother that I haven't seen in 10 years had died. 2 days later I got a call that he actually had died. My dad claims to have had this twice. Not a call, but he was actually visited by the deceased in a dream. They were always happy in the dream. Then he would learn of their non-illness related sudden death after waking up. Very similar situation for me. I had a dream my grandmother had passed away, but in the dream it's like she was visiting me before leaving, and was happy. After I woke up, I made some breakfast and coffee, and probably an hour later I see my phone ringing from my dad, and before even answering the phone, I knew what he was calling about. My grandma died early that morning. Maybe it was a coincidence because my grandma had been battling cancer for a while at that point, so it's not that crazy to think about an ill family member dying, but it was a very bizarre experience. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.